different types of livestock in the lower tropics. It is said that a quadruped animal that has been one of the most beneficial for man was originally from Southeast Asia. It has helped mankind in our evolution, providing us with strength and food. Today, the species has been completely domesticated, and with improved sanitation and production processes, it is a great option for milk and meat production, especially where environmental conditions are not the best. Today, we visit a livestock ranch located in the Buena Vista, Córdoba municipality in order to see how they've adapted to the Colombian tropics.
When we started this ranch on the 14th of October of '91, we bought cattle and we bought some buffalo. Those animals were the business. From then, we started to get to know the buffalo, and, as you can see, these are the daughters of those first buffalo from when we bought this farm, and we've been working with them, and not as a hobby, because the boss saw in them a great future, which we have. He saw that the buffalo was an animal with a great future, where he fell in love with them, and now he has a great production, which at the moment is very well managed, and we produce beef and milk. As you can see, these animals adapt very well to muddy terrain, which is why they are recommended to keep these animals, these buffalo, in Colombia's humid and muddy areas.
This bovine animal was first introduced in Colombia in the 60s and 70s. There are currently many areas in the country that are implementing buffalo, especially in Córdoba, Antioquia, Middle Magdalena, Valle del Cauca, and Quindío.
In Colombia, you can find breeds such as Mora, a dairy breed, actually the most specialized in milk production here in Colombia, as well as the Mediterranean and Jafarabadi breeds, also in our country. Also, some subspecies such as the Nili Ravi, together with some of the crosses made between them.
Next, we will get to know some of the phenotypic characteristics of the Mora and Mediterranean breeds.
Here we have a great specimen of Mora to show off its phenotype. This is a great buffalo for me to explain the characteristics of the Mora, which are the curved and spiral-shaped horn, big head, concave nose. The backside is quite wide and the top is flat. These are the Mora's characteristics. They also have good legs, which is what we're looking for.
Also, Mora females possess a big and solid body, proportionally big and well-defined udders, easy-to-handle teats, and traction, making them excellent milk producers. The Mediterranean is a breed that is characterized by a proportionally big and concave head, long and narrow face, triangular medium-sized horns that are thick and strong, facing backwards and to the sides forming a half-moon shape. Its body is thick in relation to its length, and its legs are short and robust. It's a special breed for beef production.
Right now, we find ourselves at the top of the Altamar ranch, where we handle everything related to breeding livestock. Here in this section, we're currently managing approximately 450 pregnant buffalo. Those who give birth are picked up and placed here in this paddock close to the corral where we can manage them. Right now, these offspring are around 4, 5, and 6 days old. When they're 10 days, they will arrive at the milking process at the dairy. When calves are born, Their umbilical cords are cut and cured with 10% iodine. They come and are then cured at the delivery area, and after 10 days, they are brought here where we manage the tagging phase. Right now, we're managing the tags and doing the first deworming.
Different types of livestock in the lower tropics. The Arizona Ranch, located 110 meters above sea level, receives around 3,500 milliliters of rainfall evenly distributed throughout the year. The ranch is completely flat, 100% of its land used, and it also has a good amount of shading for the animals.
So what intervenes in the process of animal husbandry? There are many levels, if you want to understand it that way. Those factors are understanding the ground and its different components or properties, thus looking at the chemical, physical, and biological part of the soil. We then go on to look at the first level, the soil being the basement. What is this first level? Fodder. And so we have to see if the conditions of the soil are sufficient to produce the kind of grass we need. We need that grass, that type of vegetable we call grass, to be of good quality and to have a sufficient enough biomass to supply the animals taken there. On this ranch, we only use the paddocks 13 days out of the year, which means that the paddocks rest for 352 days. This has been a team effort that we have been doing with professionals of Corpoica, with assistance that has spanned several years.
Breeding livestock entails several phases of production. The offspring phase, which goes from birth to 6 months of age. The rearing phase, which starts on the 7th month until 18 months of age. And the feeding phase, which begins at 19 months until the average 450 kilos are met, the ideal market weight. Realizing that the bovine feeding phase consists of improving weight gains in less time in order to achieve higher returns, you must take into account the type of animal, its physical condition, and its state of health in order to achieve better results.
This is a farm that focuses exclusively on the feeding phase, where animals are bought weighing between 180 and 200 kilos, weighed here in the ranch. The practices that we have consist on weighing at the moment of arrival, where they are then assigned a consecutive number, and then, after this, they move on to the section in charge of helping them reach those kilos per hectare needed in each of those areas.
The animal load here at the Arizona Ranch is not determined by how many heads of cattle there are per hectare. A new system of evaluation was achieved after a long period of time.
We started adjusting evaluations thanks to the experience of the owner as to how many animals each hectare could support. His experience let him know when coming to work that no, we shouldn't be talking about heads of cattle, but about the needed kilos for the animal that the paddock could provide. The ranch has around 140 hectares and manages a load of about 1,400 to 1,500 kilograms of stock per hectare. This enables us to permanently keep between 650 and 750 heads of cattle throughout the 14 lots of the ranch. For us, the way to manage the load is to first take into account the variety of grass, such as the Brachiara humidicola, which is a type of grass with a higher amount of density per square meter. We work with loads of 1,500, 1,600, and up to 2,000 kilos of stock per hectare. The Brachiaria decumbens, which is a bit more open, works with loads between 1,300 and 1,600 kilos of stock per hectare, as well as marble grass, which is a more airy type of fodder, and even though it grows more, it tends to have a lower volume per square meter, working between 1,200 and 1,400 kilos of stock per hectare. The formula with which we measure out our livestock is by having livestock of all kinds of sizes in the different lots. That also helps to not have too many animals in the same paddock at the same time. Let me give you an example. If I have 2,000 kilos of stock per hectare with the humidicola, and I have 10 hectares for 2,000 kilos, that would be 20,000 kilos of stock. And if I only have animals that weigh 100 kilos, man, we're talking about 200 animals in a lot in one day. And that usually causes problems for the grass due to all the stomping, especially on nights of heavy rainfall.
Different types of livestock in the lower tropics.
Here we are in the number 1 milking area, the majority. Here we have 4 installations. This here is the number 1, where we do the milking by hand. We have approximately 45 buffalo cows per lot. And right now, we are milking 4 lots in the majority.
When the cows enter the area, the milker must properly wash the udder with iodized water and then dry it with a towel or clean newspaper before starting the milking process. The cleaning of this breed must be rigorous, since they are animals that are in constant contact with mud and water, and they could have some level of contamination. All the milk must be drained. In other words, perform an in-depth milking so as not to leave any milk in the teats. Once the milking process is over, you must disinfect each teat, after which you can release the animal.
Here's where we weigh the milk. We then proceed to weigh this buffalo cow. That has a weight of 6.4 liters. We proceed to empty the container, which has a filter, in order to better clean the milk. So you empty out the milk, and the container is taken to a cooling tank where the milk cart then collects it. Buffaloes are animals that have a great advantage with respect to other productions, since they can adapt well to swamps and muddy terrain, while other animals can't, because that would make them susceptible to disease. These animals, while in the mud, can consume a type of pasture that gives them a good amount of protein, improves the quality of their milk, or at least allows good solids to be dissolved in the milk, which is something the market demands from milk products that are derived from buffalo. So one of the advantages these animals have is in adaptability for terrain, where they are able then to consume some aquatic plants that enable a higher quantity of solids dissolved in milk, and with more protein, milk that is a good food for youth or for people to consume.
The ideal buffalo cow is the one able to reproduce her replacement, males that can achieve market weights, females to add to the breeding herd, as well as a good production of milk.
Reproduction takes place here, with 1 to mount in each lot. Each lot has around 45 to 50 cows, together with 1 bull, so they can reproduce naturally. You take a lineage from a different breed so that there is no crossing between cousins, uncles, or brothers that have already come. The past 25 years of production has used this method, and so you take different animals and cross them with the lots so as to vary the gene pool.
The buffalo is an animal with some important characteristics. They live long, have good reproductive capacity, and can serve three purposes. They can work, produce milk, and beef. That is why it's important to highlight the best specimens in order to improve the phenotypic characteristics of the breeding farm.
In my opinion, the buffalo is a livestock of the future because it's an animal that gains a lot of weight, is easy to manage, is tame. They are very gentle animals, consume certain pastures more than other animals, consume pastures wedged into the mud, and they are animals that I see for the future. They're the livestock of the future due to their type of production and exploitation. In terms of the market for buffalo products, the milk being produced by these buffaloes has been excellent. In terms of beef, buffalo meat is of excellent quality and is more palatable. The consumption of buffalo meat has been increasing over the past few years, and people are really enjoying it.
The buffalo is grateful, noble, intelligent, easygoing, curious animal, and a good friend to man. They are capable of efficiently producing, even in the most difficult of conditions, where other species would not be able to. Different types of livestock in the lower tropics. Thanks to his experience with livestock, Eduardo has decided to establish some specific rules in managing the animals in his ranch. Let's see what they are.
This here is something very personal for me, something I designed for the farm, which is the 80 milliliter law. The 80 milliliter law states that when there is a rainfall of 80 milliliters or more, the cowboy must move the animals twice in one day. Here, it usually rains at nighttime, so the cattle are moved early in the morning. Trampling of the terrain always occurs when the animals are moved. Since it's a meadow, it becomes very soft. At around 1 or 2 in the afternoon, after the ground has dried and the terrain has drained a bit, the animals are moved again, and that way the paddock has not been affected by the livestock's hooves. Another topic that has been commented in some forums or in some chats has to do with nutrition, or the management or practice of moving the animals. Some say the animals should be moved in the morning hours, while others say they should be moved in the afternoon. I've put both to the test, moving animals in the morning and in the afternoon, and I haven't found a significant difference. What is important, however, is to move the animals always at the same time. After a while, with the once-a-day rotating system, the pasture is kept low like a plain, a pasture that has a high quantity of nutrients. The difference you can observe from the time it comes out to where it is to where it's going is not so significant. When the livestock exits the paddock, you can observe a considerably good amount of pasture remaining. In some cases, the rancher could think that the animals could stay longer, but success comes in consuming the grass in as little time as possible, as well as in giving the pasture time to rest. The systems of production that make special emphasis on livestock are concerned with the problems that livestock owners, institutions, and associations have in terms of low production in the livestock industry, and in this case, with cattle specifically. The technical side is a concern because it's a very old system, and even some of the newer ones have been overcome. A solution is found when we unite forces, when we analyze the situation in order to understand what is being produced and how, and to see where we can intervene in order to increase productivity. And we've already started to see a difference. It wasn't about having the same animal weight distributed throughout the farm. Instead, we decided to do it for each pasture. This is another advance we've had, because this forage species cannot support the same load capacity. What is the surprise? That the load capacity of those 200 to 220 animals had tripled. So you start to realize some advances have been made, and what's best, some of the theories suggested by the owner could be corroborated, and those that were true could be implemented. Thus, that whole system knew where to start and where it wanted to go. In other words, it knew the route, which is important. First, you need to understand the baseline, as it's called. In other words, what do I have and where am I going? What happens with some is that they don't know where they're going or where they are, and that's important. Right now, we're adjusting because it's not good to stay stuck, to say, I reached my goal. When you've reached what you wanted, you have to set an even higher goal in order to overcome those obstacles, and that is what we're doing. We're looking to see if we can reach our next objective in order to make this a good enterprise. That is our aim.